If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option, as Sori says. 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be part of Alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at sori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed, and y'all shall lead them.
To buy our merch. Oh,
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener.
There we go.
Buy our merch indeed, and y'all shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. We are in... He's canceling rubbish. Rubbish!
Oh no! All right, you guys. DJ Metal Cat in the house over here. This is our DJ. This is his little... Whoop, wrong way.
That's his little cat.
His little homie. Beep, 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 beep. Leela is her name.
Oh, that's the name of the cat? Shout out to Leela the cat.
It's so weird because literally before the stream started, when I was putting up her picture, I could not remember her name. And I'm like, yo, you know her name. What's going on? And then all of a sudden I'm sitting here in the stream and boop, there goes the name in my head. I'm like, there it is. All right.
Speaking of names in our head, there's a band called Bad Religion. They wrote a song called Skyscraper, dear listener. And we are going to listen to it now.
So, prepare yourselves.
Prepare yourselves!
I believe we've done Bad Religion before.
Yeah,
we can't place what they sound like yet. I'm sure once it starts,
I think Bad Religion is a punk. They're a punk band, right?
Oh, okay.
Right? It's hey, type 22 if Bad Religion is a punk band.
Yeah, I'm
pretty sure they are, though. I don't know. Well, I can't really be sure because I thought Wayfarer was an 80s band.
I do like it when they're a punk bands. I'm a bit of a fan of the punk. You know what I like about the punk stuff is because I feel like they'll still kind of deal with problems, but they try to make it a little bit less heavy.
Yeah, it's lighthearted.
Yeah.
They punk guys are like I'm gonna try to fix this here because we're on. It's like talk to the people.
Okay. Yeah, type 22, you guys. I'm gonna pull up that comment section because I want to know what you guys have to say about that. Ooh, I guess not. Yeah, so we are currently, obviously you guys know we live in Maine. We had our first snowstorm. Actually, I should bring you guys a little bit of snow so you can see it. Next commercial break, I'll bring you some snow. 22, they type 22, so that means they are punk band, right? Okay.
Ha! I do know what I'm talking about, you losers.
Punks would probably hate you calling their music lighthearted. You know what? That's possible. You know what it is? I'll tell you, this is so weird. So yeah, we did do American Jesus. See, I knew we did that before.
Was them?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was, what do you call it? Green Day, for some reason.
And of course, as you guys know, the Beatles are the ones that influenced and started punk music.
Really? I didn't know that.
According to Dwayne.
Oh.
Babe, did you really believe it?
Will you be doing more Decibel Omega?
Vin hopes so.
Nah, for sure. Okay, here we go, guys. Song numero dos, Bad Religion.
Religion, you guys. The name of the song is
Skyscraper. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Oh, it's a lyric video.
Started
Pay
by
close attention.
Greg Graffin in 1979 while in high school.
Come, let us make bricks and burn them hard.
Where'd that come
We'll
from?
build a city with a tower for the world, and climb so we can reach anything we may propose. Anything at all. Build me up, tear me down like a skyscraper. Build me up, then tear down these joining walls so they can't climb at all. I know why you tore it down that day. You thought that if you got caught, we'd all go away like the spoiled little baby who can't come out and play. You had your revenge. Build me up, tear me down like a skyscraper. Build me up, then tear down these joining walls so they can't climb at all. Well, madness reigned and paradise drowned when Babel's walls came crashing down. Now the echoes roar for story ripped that was hardly understood and never any good. Build me up, tear me down like a skyscraper. Build me up and tear down these joining walls so they can't climb at all.
Oh no, no.
Gosh.
Oh, okay. You're gonna get docked for that.
You can't do that. You cannot do that. First of all, this is
Wasn't long enough.
I agree. I was enjoying it. I really like that punk sound. And this is a lot of fun topics that he went into.
Punks do melody really good.
That's true.
They're really, really, really good at melody. It's
That's
so
true.
fun. It's like they don't like put a lot of effort into like guitar complexity, but they're really good at and that's why, you know, shout out to Ellen. She's talking about like pop punk, but I to me, pop punk is, you know, that part at the end where they're like, build me up, and they started harmonizing. The pop punk guys are like, no, we'll just take that part right there, and that'll be what we do.
Yeah.
And it, you know, they blow up. Shout out to Blink 182. But yeah, they do melodic vocals really well.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I should be surprised by that or what, but yeah. Damn, man. This song was kind of a species of the previous song.
Yeah. I was like, I think we've seen some connection there.
Yeah, I definitely see some
So we talked
ideological.
about the Tower of Babel. We talked about
Yeah,
a number of different early topics. Come, let us make bricks and burn them. We'll build...
Shit! So Green Day was touring with these dudes.
That makes sense.
And right before Dookie, which I guess is their big album, exploded. They were, I guess they were opening up for these guys. So, all right, go ahead.
Come, let us make bricks and burn them. I thought Let's Make Bricks was going to go to like when the Israelites were forced by the Egyptians to make bricks.
Bricks without straw.
Without straw, yeah.
No, that's what they said in Genesis 11. That's how it starts out. Let's take bricks and burn them and make them solid and build a tower so that we'll make a name for ourselves. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were talking about like bitumen and all that stuff. It's like they use bitumen and tar to put the, you know, it's just talking about technology.
It's crazy. You remember they said burn it. Basically, you're like cooking it in the oven?
Yeah.
What a lot of work that must have been.
They made bricks, yeah.
Ugh. Okay.
I think that line there where it says, come, let us make bricks and burn them, I think is just a way to talk about
it was just a marker for a technological advancement. Like somebody figured out how to make bricks,
Oh.
right? And so when they say, come, let us do that,
Yeah.
that kind of replicates the conversation in at the beginning of the Bible where God says, come, let us do X, Y, Z, right?
Yeah.
Let
I
us
was
do
thinking,
this.
come, let us reason together.
Well, in Genesis, God is having a conversation with some other person. Let us make man in our image, for example. So when God is going to create, he calls in the Trinity, or he calls in his divine counsel and says, let us do X, Y, and Z. So when the guys are doing that, that shows that it's their
they're like
creation
copying.
moment.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Oh.
It's their creation moment. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a signal
Yeah.
to say this is when we invented bricks. And as soon as we came up with this invention, we used it to
disobey. The exact thing we're supposed to do.
well, a lot of people don't understand what the goal of the Tower of Babel was, because when people see the term reach to heaven, they're such physicalists.
Yes.
And we're such, post-Aristotelian rationalists that we think when the text says they wanted to build a tower to heaven, that means that they thought that they could build past the atmosphere, past the stratosphere.
When I was a kid, I used to think that.
And so like, and then God looks down and goes, holy shit, we can't let that happen, you know? So, I mean, we've got to stop this before they build a tower up to heaven. Like, this was a very commonly understood idea in the ancient Near East, which was you build these towers because the gods are kind of up in the mountains.
Check out a ziggurat.
The gods are up in the mountains where you can't get to them. So you kind of have to build a mini little mountain. And then when you do that, you can call the god down and the god comes down, and then you make an exchange of worship, sacrifice, whatever to the god. And then the god gives you so that you could interface, negotiate with them, and in some forms of paganism actually control them. That was what they were going to do.
Interestingly enough, in the Garden of Eden, it talks about a mountain where the council of the gods took place. So they had this idea that you go up to get to the gods. So then when they build the ziggurat, it's also going up. So they've seen it before.
Yeah, and so they're trying to recreate the sort of dwelling of the gods. Hey, you guys are on the mountains. We'll create a little. It's basically the ziggurat function a little bit like a hotel. Like, you can permanently hang out here before you go back up to the mountains. That's where you really live. But they can't get to the mountains. So you build a little ziggurat, it's kind of like a little mini mountain, so that the god can come down there temporarily and hang out. So it functions a little bit like a hotel. And then you interface with the god, and then the god goes back up, and it's prostitution. That's why there's such a link in the Bible, in the Old Testament, between prostitution and idolatry, or idolatry and adultery, because that's
they were so
essentially, I mean, that's what happens. You're telling the god to go to a hotel, you give the god something, the god gives you something, you both have an exchange, he goes back to where he goes, you go back to where you go. What does that sound like? Sounds like, okay, I'm going to meet this girl at a hotel, I exchange what, she exchanges what, blah, 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 I get what I want, she gets what she wants, I go her, see? And so that's why the Bible makes such a correlation between idolatry and adultery, because spiritually that's what's going on in God's
right, because we're made, like it says that our body is the temple of God. So you've essentially brought the temple over there to interface.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, Amr, where are you right now? Are you in Palestine?
Oh wow. Well,
the entire scene at Babel and issues, just another example of man wanting to do religion on his terms and not God's. Yeah, I mean it's a way of it's a prostitution contract with these beings. I was listening to Joe Rogan a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about these UAPs. And there's one, and Joe, as far as I know, is a secularist, and the guy that he's talking with is a secularist as well. And he's like, there's one theory of this guy, this professor, where like they're somehow interested in our souls because somehow the energy of our souls or whatever it is some sort of currency for them in their dimension. And Rogan's like, yeah. He's like, why would they be interested in our souls? I've heard, and like they're going back and forth and having this conversation. I'm like, are you kidding me? But okay, so God goes down there and says, no, I'm going to screw up your whatever. But the Tower of Babel or Babel also came to be almost symbol of human ingenuity and religion's kind of attempt to stymie that. So our interpretation is, you know, this is silly to believe that people could go up to heaven and all the rest of it. But there's a real secular reading of the story that says these people were advancing in technology, and they didn't just want to build a tower, they also wanted to build a city. But because it was outside of this god's particular whatever, he destroyed it, which now gives religious people the motivation and impetus and the justification to destroy anything that any sort of technological advance that they don't like. They're going to squash it. Then they bring up Galileo. Look, remember Galileo? Galileo was, you know, the earth revolves around the sun, doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
And he got in trouble with the Catholic Church and all the rest of it because they couldn't deal with it, because obviously the previous popes had said the other thing. So, like, the secularists kind of look at the Babel story as religious coding, which says we do not like technology. Technology is dangerous, and religious people are always going to be at the front and center trying to impede, you know, technology. And so that's also a reading of the Babel story, which makes a lot of sense to me. If I was a secularist, I would completely understand that. What were your thoughts on it?
No, I'm still processing what you're saying. Oh, you mean for this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just following that. It seemed like, but I didn't think we only talked about the Tower of Babel. It seemed like we went into a couple of topics, right?
Well, he starts it off that way, and then he makes a correlation between the skyscraper and the Tower of Babel. So build me up, tear me down like a skyscraper. Build me up and tear down these joining walls so they can't climb at all. So it looks to me like he makes the obvious correlation between the Tower of Babel, and the advancement of human technology, and what effect that has, though, on the human person. Mm-hmm. So it's like, while we're building up these towers, what is the human cost of this technological and economic advancement while that's happening? I think it's a really important thing, because it says, build me up, tear me down like a skyscraper. Mm-hmm. So something is being built up and torn down. Build me up and tear down these joining walls so that they can't climb at all. So the skyscrapers ensure that rich people remain rich, and in this guy's mind also ensures that poor people never get to climb. Tear down these joining walls so they can't climb at all. So all other people's opportunities get destroyed, and then everything gets funneled into this skyscraper. So now we've got one sort of channel of all the capital. And so poor people can't climb up because there's no adjoining walls for them to get to now.
Oh. Okay, I know why you tore it down that day. You thought that if you got caught, we'd all go away. Like a spoiled little baby who can't come out and play. You had your revenge. Is he talking about God?
Well, build me up, tear me down like a skyscraper. Build me up and tear down these joining walls so they can't climb out. Well, madness reigned and paradise fell when Babel's walls came crashing down. Now the echoes roar for story writ. This was hardly understood and never any good. So he's saying madness reigned and paradise fell when Babel's walls came crashing down. You know what's interesting is that 9/11, you know, the Pentagon got hit as well, which is a pretty massive thing. But most people almost never, unless you're in the military or you were, you know, in the work. Other than that, I never hear anybody say anything about the Pentagon. Everybody talks about the towers, and and it's just the psychology of seeing something so high come down. Must have been was just a crazy sort of imprint in everybody's mind. So paradise fell when Babel's walls came crashing down is a crazy line, because to me it's like Americans truly did live in a paradise prior to 9/11, and comparatively speaking to our neighbors in the rest of the world. People in the rest of the world, you know, lived under the fear and dread of terrorism, mostly American terrorism. And so, like, there really was a sort of paradisical sort of experience with Americans pre 9/11, like
9/11 happened on what year?
2001. So, like, there really was, and like I try to explain to the kids because it hit me like they were not born, like they weren't around. So it's like I tried to explain to them like what America was. You could fly. There was no wand when you were flying.
Right.
Or I talked about being on a plane when I was, a kid, come from Jamaica to America, and how my mom brought me up to the cockpit to hang out with the pilot a little bit. And they're like, "What?
Now that's
Like what? You were
Yeah.
yeah, dude. Like
Yeah.
I waltzed right in there, and touched one of the controls or whatever. Like like right there." Like trying to explain all that stuff to them and like to watch them, like. No way. It's like, yo, man, like we really lost something. Like we really, really did, and we deserve to lose those things, in my opinion. And it's crazy because I checked the date of this song. It was written well before 9/11.
Yeah, somebody said 1992.
Yeah.
Revo.
92.
Revo said 93.
Right? So it's kind of, it made it more eerie to me.
Yeah.
To see that lyric.
But 9/11 hadn't happened
And
yet.
9/11 is almost a decade in the future at this point, as of the writing of this song.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a crazy song because it's almost like a foreshadowing almost when he talked about the madness reigned and paradise fell, because how can you do the things that we've done and not be insane to believe that nobody was going to retaliate?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of Americans have been telling themselves the same lie for a very long time, that the rest of the world is jealous of our freedoms instead of understanding that it's what we've done to the world. So, I think...
And you attain the true maturity when you realize, like, it is very likely that we are the envy of the world. Anytime there's anything that's on top, human nature is such that you're going to envy it. But focusing on that, and then saying, yeah, that might be a factor. Us bombing the shit out of their children may also be a factor as to why these people don't like us. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think I also like the build me up, tear me down line, like a skyscraper. Build me up and tear me down these joining walls. I liked that part because I think that he says me, build me up. And I guess for me that was significant because a lot of times we make choices and decisions in our life that builds us up in a certain way. And if you build on the right foundation and you build the right skyscraper of your life, then there's no need for a tear down. But sometimes we start building on stuff that doesn't give us like a firm foundation and kind of like is destructive. And so as you're going about your life, like sometimes there's a tear down and everything kind of starts falling apart. And like that part of the song I thought was kind of significant because when a skyscraper like is going up, there's like all this human ingenuity and like, look at us, like who's going to stop us? Even just regular, like when you see a very tall building going up and you see the process, like it's almost, or a bridge, those things are crazy. Like how do you build something from one side of the water to the other? What are you going to use to connect that? How's that going to work? But like when you see those things, like they're amazing to see them. But then when you see those things coming down because, it was done wrong, it's horrific, especially when people's lives get lost in the process. But I think that understanding that sometimes in life that stuff does that, like you do cycle through stuff, there's a tearing down and then there's a building up, or there's a building and then a tearing down, but like there's a way to rebuild. And so I kind of, for me, saw that in the song. I was like, that's kind of, you can learn from the things of the past, and because history sort of repeats itself. So we can see that in that process, they did that, and the same thing can be true of us, but there can be more. So hope.
Yeah, the song is crazy, but yeah, shout out to punk music.
Yeah, I like it.
You melody really, really well. What'd you get this one?
I give it a 9.2.
A solid 9 for me. Solid 9 for me. Don't touch that dial there,
We'll be
listener.
right back.
I'm back on the other side of the break.